Happy Easter! Today we get to add the final part of the Faces of Easter story. Are you ready? In the beginning, the Word was born, a wordless child. And then when the baby looked up into the faces of the Mother Mary and the Father Joseph, the cross was already there. Mary and Joseph took good care of the baby, and he grew up to be a boy. When he was about 12 years old, he went with his family and many other people from his village of Nazareth into the great city of Jerusalem to keep one of the high holy days. At the end of the celebration, when they were headed back down the road back to Nazareth, they realized Jesus was not with them. Mary and Joseph went back into the city and looked for 3 days and 3 nights. When they finally found him, he was in the temple, speaking with the priests. And then he said that strange thing, "Didn't you know I would be in my Father's house?" Jesus grew to be a man. And when he was about 30 years old, he went to the river Jordan to see his cousin who was baptizing people, his cousin John. He waded into the water and asked John to baptize him. He went down into the darkness and the chaos of the water. And when John brought him back up into the light, a dove came down from heaven and came so close to Jesus. And a voice came from above saying, "You are my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased." After Jesus was baptized, he went to the other side of the river and went into the desert for 30 days and 30 nights to learn more about who he was and what his work would be. While he was in the desert, a voice came to him 3 times, testing him. But each time he held strong and said no, and the voice went away. When he came out of the desert, he went back across the river to do his work. Jesus' work was to come close to people, especially those that no one else wanted to come close to, like the blind man. When Jesus came close to people, they changed. They got well. They could see and do things that they couldn't before. His work was to come close to people and also to tell parables. And then he realized that he had to become a parable. So he turned toward Jerusalem for the last time. When he rode into Jerusalem, he rode a borrowed donkey, and people waved palm branches at him, which was a sign for kings. They didn't yet understand what kind of king he would be. During his time there in Jerusalem for 3 days, he spent time with the 12, and he taught in the temple. One of the lessons was the one that got the people wondering about the money they were giving to the temple. And then the temple guards said that they would take Jesus. So that night, he and the 12 went into the upper room and shared their Last Supper. At the end of the supper, they shared bread and wine, and Jesus told them that he would always be with them in the bread and the wine. After supper, they went into the Garden of Gethsemane, and Jesus prayed. And then Judas came to him, which signaled the guards. The guards came out of the darkness and took Jesus into the night. was long and confusing. The next day, Jesus was taken outside the city walls and was crucified. That afternoon, Jesus died, and the sky grew dark. Jesus was taken down from the cross and buried in a cave. A great stone was rolled into the entrance of the cave to close it up like a door. Saturday was so quiet, you could almost hear the earth breathing. The next morning, on Sunday, it was the women who had the courage to go to the tomb just to be close to Jesus. They wanted to remember everything, even though it was sad. But when they got there, they saw that the stone had been rolled away, and when they looked inside, the tomb was empty. Jesus died on the cross, but somehow he was still with them, as he is with us today, especially in the bread and the wine. When you see this side, the crucifix, you know that this other side is there. And when you see this side, Easter, you know that this side is there. And you can't pull them apart. But that is the mystery of Easter. And this is what makes everything change. And so the color changes from purple to white, the color of pure celebration. But something is not quite right. We have the beginning and the middle and the end, but if we only had this side, the story would end. But we also have this side. So we can't leave this story in just a line. Let's see what we can do here. Now the story can go on forever and ever. Now, I wonder which part of the story you like best. I wonder which part of the story is the most important. And I wonder where you are in the story, or which part is especially for you. I wonder if there's any part of the story we could leave out and still have all the story that we need. It's a lot to wonder. I wonder what you will do today with your families to celebrate Easter. Well, until I see you again, God loves you and I love you. You're a precious child of God. God bless you and happy Easter.